John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast. John Anik and Kenny Florian.
I f***ing love him. I can't get enough of him.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, out cold. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness.
Hyperbole.
There are a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, John Anik and Kenny Florian.
All right, so how many UFC wins does Kenny Florian have? If I'm not mistaken, it's 12. Alex Morano has 12 UFC wins, Kenny. Gets it done in his 18th UFC appearance against Timmy Means Business. What else can you say about Alex the Great White Morano, right? It's like, don't let the body fat percentage fool you, right? No, and he looked even tighter this time around. You know, he looked good. But,
dude, he's tough. He's tough. You know, I know him as a grappler, but he has made huge strides with his striking as well. High pressure fighter, very tough, smart. It was great to see him get a win in. And dude, I hit him for 2. I hit him for the double.
I know.
Thank you, Alex.
I was about to tell our audience, you are perfect on your multiple unit bets in 2023. Oh. Every single time you have put more on a fighter, that has come through for you. Alex Morano, yes, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Gracie Barra, the Woodlands is his gym, but has always listed himself as a kickboxer, which I've always found sort of an interesting juxtaposition, but certainly knows his way around a submission. The guillotine is his go-to submission. And I know you didn't hear the broadcast, but how cool for me and Daniel Cormier. And I'm peeling back the curtain a little bit, and I trust Alex doesn't mind. And maybe you can give me a lesson in terms of what can and can't be revealed when it comes to training. But, you know, one of the sessions that Daniel and I were able to see at Fortis MMA in Dallas when we were down there doing some work was a pro practice and going head-to-head were Alex Morano and Kyle Crutchmer, the very good collegiate wrestler. And Morano kept trying to get that guillotine on Crutchmer, and I think the General Safe Saud perpetually was telling him to bail on the guillotine that he wasn't going to get. Kept going for it and wasn't able to get Crutchmer on it. He was able to get Tim Means on the guillotine. So for me, seeing the practice and seeing all of that, I mean, it just sort of brought it all together, and it was pretty cool. But yeah, congrats to Morano. Could easily have won 6 in a row right now. The lone loss in his last 6 fights against Santiago Ponzinibbio, a fight that he got a lot done in. So congrats to Alex Morano and all the other big winners. Brian Battle putting on a show in North Carolina. Just an absolutely great show. But in the nature of our beast, we need to spin it forward. UFC Fight Night, Dern versus Hill coming up. Cannonball coming at the UFC Apex this weekend. To that end, let us get to the main event challenge.
It's the main event challenge. Anik.
The time is most definitely now.
Florian.
I finish fights. I'm going to do everything possible to win.
The main event challenge. The John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast.
You know, one time Tony Ferguson alleged that I didn't want to be there for a fighter meeting. He was like, Anik doesn't want to be here. Anybody else have a question? And we, of course, buried the hatchet. It really hurt me because I love Tony, and I always loved Tony, and I just kept banging that drum. First double-digit winning streak in UFC lightweight history. It's just crazy that I'm glad he has a piece of gold at home, even though it's not undisputed. But yeah, that was something that happened during a fighter meeting back in the day. All right, so Brian Petrie, it's good to see you, buddy. What's going on?
Nothing much. I got to tell you, Johnny, you know, I'm a part of the show, but a long-time listener. You know, you're going to get a couple Minutemen after you with that red. You were busting his balls good, but you know, the Minutemen are sensitive, John. They're going to come after you a little bit.
So the reason I brought up the Ferguson thing was that, you know, the allegation that someone doesn't want to be somewhere is a pretty serious one, especially coming at me from a fighter. It's like, oh gosh, you know, and I don't think it had to do with my energy. I think it maybe had to do with the place that he was in, but kind of felt like Longo didn't want to be here today, if I'm being honest. You know, is that going to upset the Minutemen as well? No, I mean, I can honestly say that's maybe the only time, right? But he's like, you know, oftentimes he'll spin it to mixed martial arts, but sometimes he reacts differently to my energy. You know, it's like, you want me to just sit here and be like, all right, Raymond, Douglas Silva, Andrade by unanimous decision over Cody Stamen. Your thoughts on that catchweight affair? You know, and you know what? On that show, Extra Rounds that he does, you know, that'll be the last plug they get on the Anik and Florian podcast, by the way. they're probably not asking you to tie together Johnny Walker and Carlos Ulberg, so sorry I prepped for the show, Ray. Okay. And sorry to the Minutemen who fast forward to the Ray Longo Minute every week. And now Cody's telling me on Cody's 30th birthday that he's going to censor that.
Oh, happy birthday, Cody. I didn't know his birthday.
You're not going to censor that.
Extra rounds.
In your 30s now, brother.
Beep show, whatever it is.
All right. Always
you can leave all the fucks in that you want. I mean, slam it.
All right. I'm just trying to keep it hundo P, Bri.
I love it. Me too. I'm just letting you know they're a sensitive bunch. I read the comments. They'll get you.
So it seems like you got more lovers than haters yourself, Bri. So before we get into the picks, I just want to say to Charlotte, North Carolina, if every 7 out of 10 people coming up to me are mentioning the podcast and mentioning Ken Flo and Brian Petrie, just warms the cackles of my heart. So I just want to pass that along to you, my good friend. There's a lot of Petrie love out there in the UFC live audiences. So
great. Yeah, Charlotte's a great city. Another Queen City after Cincinnati. I have family that live in Charlotte. Basically it's my family goes from New York to Boston. They retire in the Carolinas. So we're all over the place, but that's nice.
You get a little sensitive there in Cincinnati about the Queen City, Charlotte, or no?
No, because I've been to Charlotte a handful of times, and I'm like, if it was a shit town, I'd be like, whoa, what's going on here? But it's great. I love it. Yeah. So no, we're all right. We're all right.
It's going to be the Anik and Florian podcast live from Charlotte, North Carolina, probably January 2025 when I move there. All right, I'm going to update the standings here. Team Florian goes 4-1 plus $220. Gets back into the black on the year, plus 5 beans on the year. Kenny's up $5 to the positive. Good week for Petrie as well. 3-2 plus $20 year to date. Minus $2,930. How to treat you in the DraftKings Sportsbook, Petrie, with your wagers on your own other than the podcast?
I'm a little down this week. I hit on Ulberg by KO round 1, which was a big one for me. And then I hit Jalton Almeida like 3 different ways. In the one way I was like, do I go TKO? Do I go sub? I went sub round 1, which obviously was a nice little plus money. Not as juicy as you want because people are on Almeida. But I'm down a little bit. It was a 3 winning weeks in a row, and now we're down. I almost switched my pick to Johnny Walker. I almost texted the boys and said, I'm going to go with Johnny Walker, but I saw Ken Flo on Walker. I'm like, I need the points. I need whatever. I didn't really love the way Anthony Smith was kind of carrying himself that week. No shot at Anthony Smith. Sure. I just thought Walker was going to be more prepared for that fight, and that's kind of what happened. But yeah, I rode with Smith as the slight dog when we picked him.
All right, well, we have 4 selections today. We also have a new rule. Now, I consult Kenny on almost everything I do when it comes to changing the show. And so there's certain things that I wasn't going to necessarily do. And I don't do this to try to close the gap. But I felt like I could make this change without consulting Kenny Florian, who owns 51% of Anik and Florian LLC. So basically, I'm not going to allow you guys to do submissions and knockouts and things like that. Propositions, can't do that. I don't really want you doing totals, if I'm being honest, in terms of over, under, a round and a half. But I did want to give you the opportunity, especially on a card like this in which we're only picking 4 fights. If there is a fight we're not picking and you want to make a selection for the public, we certainly would like more wagers as opposed to less. So from now on, if there is a fight that you are not assigned to pick that you would like to give out as a play, can go up to 5 units. We would like to afford you that opportunity. We will begin with Petrie at lightweight. Diego Ferreira minus 145. Michael the Menace Johnson plus 125. So Ferreira won 6 in a row, Brian, before this 3-fight skid that has come against big names: Beneil Dariush, Mateusz Gamrot, Gregor Gillespie. Didn't fight at all in 2022. We saw him training at Fortis MMA in Dallas last month. For what it's worth, he looked great. On the other side, Michael Johnson, UFC star number 28, coming off a strong performance against Mark Chikasi last year. Your thoughts on a pretty good scrap here at 155 pounds, Kit?
Yeah, I've been lucky enough in my life, guys. I don't have many vices. I don't smoke. I rarely drink, maybe once a year, but I'm fucking addicted to betting Michael Johnson at plus money. I think he's scared this dog. This guy's good, right? And then since he's come back, I think he should be 3-0 since his little break, right? I had him winning over Jamie Malarkey, which was a very close fight, but I had him winning regardless of that. He's 2-1 against some good competition, 21-18 overall. He's been in there with everyone. He's all this talent. His biggest problem is between his brain, the mental side of things. He's got good wrestling. His power is there. I mean, he's knocked out Dustin Poirier. He's got a devastating left hand. My problem is this is a system play, right? I have two systems in my little betting system. One, you always bet Michael Johnson plus money. Number two, if a guy shaves his head and dyes it blonde, a la Brian Battle, you bet him, right? So we're 1-0 on the system play. So I got to rock with the only hesitant here. I think Diego Ferreira is a great fighter. He's on a little bit of a skid here. Last time against Gamrot, I believe he hurt his rib. It wasn't like a full finish. He busted a rib. But Johnny produces gold, and he was down in Fortis MMA, and since he's been down there, those guys are coming out and they're winning. That's a great camp anyway. He gave him a little bit of a boost, so I'm a little hesitant, but I'm going to go with the system. I'm going to go with Michael Johnson plus money. I do think he can catch Diego Ferreira maybe later in the fight, because Diego does tend to slow down just enough, and Michael Johnson carries power for 3 rounds. So give me the dog and Michael Johnson.
Michael Johnson plus 125 right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. And by the way, he injected the name Brian Battle, Charlotte's own. Fighters go a whole career without having anything resembling a moment like that. To have a moment like that in your hometown, a 14-second knockout, it doesn't even matter what happens from here. And he misses weight, by the way, and still gets a bonus from the Ultimate Fighting Championship. So I don't know how I feel about that, but I understand why they wanted to reward that performance. All right. Welter, Ken Flo, why don't you give us a pick before I hastily move on?
Yes, definitely. Listen, I'm with Brian here. I think this fight is too close to not go with the underdog here. Diego Ferreira can win this fight, but listen, he's on a bad losing skid right now. I think, if he's able to get it down to the ground and secure maybe a back position, he can get the win by submission against Michael Johnson, but I don't know if he's going to be able to get there consistently. I think his best shot is just kind of throwing the kitchen sink at him in round 1. But I think Michael Johnson has too much experience to really fall for that. I think he's going to be able to keep this one on the feet, outpoint him, and get the win here against Ferreira.
All right, both guys like Michael Johnson plus money right now, if you like that. Moving on now to the welterweights, Brian Petrie. So Joaquin Buckley, I believe, fought his first 10 pro fights below 85. One of them was a catch weight at 180 pounds, right? He's going to welterweight here. He's minus 205 against Andre Fialho, who's plus 175. Obviously, you've studied Buckley extensively because you're just that guy, but he is coming off the knockout loss to your dear friend Chris Curtis. Fought 4 times in 2022. Fialho fought 5 times in the UFC last year. Went 2-3. I like the matchmaking here. What do you got for us on Joaquin Buckley, 2-1 favorite over Andre Fialho?
So I think the line's a little off. I understand giving Buckley the little bit of the shine here because Fialho is coming off 2 pretty ugly losses. The knockout loss to Chris, Joaquin looked really good in the first round, and he's that kind of fighter. But you got very similar fighters who like to stand up and bang, and their chin isn't all that good. Buckley, he's been touched before, and I don't love him sucking out. I know he's not a big 85er, but he's got some beach muscles. Sucking out and going down to 170, that's not good for the brain. I don't think that's going to be better for the chin. He might be stronger, and he might want to implement wrestling as opposed to because he's going to lack in a little bit of speed. But Fialho, even though he does have a chin problem as well, he does have some crisp boxing. He touched the body up a little bit, and I think if he gets in there and he doesn't get super reckless, I think he can win, and we're giving me plus money. Again, I'm going to go dog hunt, and I need it. Yeah. I like Andre Fialho here at plus 175, I believe was what you said the number was. So, yeah, It's close. I think it should have been – the line should be closer. I get it. Buckley might wrestle, but, again, sucking out with no chin, give me Fialho.
Kenny, it is interesting how when Bryce says – a Brazilian name, a name in Brazilian Portuguese, he can't help but get a little bit musical, even with Fialho. It's just a little.
I sing it. I sing
it I love it. Man. Joaquin Buckley, I couldn't agree more. I think the number's a little bit too big on him at minus 205. And Fialho can crack, man. He's tough. I don't think his chin is what it used to be, when he first came into the UFC. Not that he's been in the UFC for several years or anything, but he's been around. He's had a very busy schedule since he's been in the UFC, especially early on. So I do think he's dangerous. Buckley, I think, has more tools overall. I think he moves a little bit better, but both these guys aren't like guys that you can consistently rely on for a particular performance. So as of right now, I'm going to lean on Buckley just because I want to be a little bit different and not go the same way as Brian here. But I will reserve the right. I want to see how these guys look on fight week. This is a big one, I think, for this fight in particular, where you kind of have to see where they're at, especially with Buckley going back down to 170 pounds.
All right, co-main event. We'll go right back to you, Ken Flo, to lead the dance on this one. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, minus 275. Edmund Shabazzian, plus 230. So Fluffy getting a lot of respect here, Kenny, from odds makers, seemingly from bettors as well. He has won 3 in a row. Shabazzian gaining some confidence, getting back into the win column, finished Dalsha Lungiambula last year. And largely, Shabazzian has taken the time, a full year at least, to reset, to get better. That was prior to the fight against Lungiambula. And he's only lost to very good / elite fighters, right? Derek Brunson, Jack Hermanson, Nassourdini Mavov. Kenny Florian, Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, near 3-1 over Edmund Shabazzian. Which way you going?
Yeah, I thought that was a little bit too big of a number for Hernandez. I'm a little surprised by that, but certainly deserves to be the favorite here. I love the way that he puts together his jiu-jitsu and wrestling. I think he is an absolute nuisance up against the cage. Really knows how to lean on you, get you to carry his body weight. Very good at taking the back from that cage position, ties up your arms and legs really well, beats you up, uses his punches and strikes to advance position. But I think against Shabazzian, he knows exactly what he needs to do, and he's done it before. So I like Hernandez here. I do think you got to watch out for Edmund Shabazzian, especially early on in this fight. Round 1, watch out. He's got a lot of firepower. I'm curious to see what kind of adjustments he has made. I guess I'm not so bullish on his training camp and in his ability to bring in the right guys for his camp. I hope he did. I hope he's been working on his jiu-jitsu and wrestling, particularly in preparation for this fight. Is he doing that? I don't know. I just have to kind of go on based on what I've seen. I think this is not a great matchup for him. I like Hernandez here to win.
Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, minus 275. You know, Brian might have suggested Hernandez as one of the more underrated fighters on the roster, but minus 275 suggests he is not underrated. What do you have for us on the co-main event?
Vegas is getting smart. You know, this is a line that would have flown on the radar about 5 years ago, where they're like, because Hernandez doesn't really talk a lot of shit. It's kind of really not the MMA world. Like, he disappears after he fights, and then he comes back and he dominates, and he looks good. It's a guy I've doubted a lot. I mean, I remember watching him just get folded like a lawn chair to Kevin Holland with that knee to the body. I'm like, you know, and then, you know, the Contender Series stuff where you know, some weed or whatever, which is real stupid. But then he's putting it together. He's almost like a Dagestani in the way he chain wrestles and he mixes jiu-jitsu and together. And Shabazzian's in Extreme Couture, and I know people that in the camp, and they rave about him, and he's out of Glendale and he's training great. But his last couple fights, even the losses in the one win, he doesn't really fight in pure grapplers. He fought Jack Hermanson, lost the decision, got taken down 3 times. Fought Derek Brunson, got taken down 4 times, and got finished in that fight, right? Cardio's been a problem. Takedown defense has been a problem. He's dangerous in round 1. So to the bettors out there, I would say, because Hernandez has been clipped early in round 1, take Shabazzian knockout round 1. That's not what I'm going to play. I think Hernandez is the real deal. Cardio kills. His grappling's very good. I'm looking at a submission late for Hernandez, and I thought Kenny was going to do it, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. 3 units on the table. I need it. I need to come back. 3 units on Hernandez. I think this is a really good pick. This is about as, you know, for not a lot of fights on the card. You know, it's not like a full stack card. I think this is one of the safer plays here. I know it's a little high. We like lower numbers, but you know, we got to win some here. You know,
you're trying to add $300 to your bank account is what you're trying to do. $825 bet on Anthony Fluffy Hernandez by Brian Petrie to yield 300, and that brings us to the main event. I'll keep it brief because you guys picked this fight last week. Mackenzie Dern minus 195. Not saying you can't analyze the hell out of it. Please do. Mackenzie Dern minus 195. Angela Hill plus 165. So Angela's 38, making her 23rd UFC start. I think it's the biggest fight of her career. It's been elevated from 3 rounds to 5. It has been given a 1-week delay. Brian Petrie, what do you have for us on Dern versus Hill in the headliner coming up in 6 days?
So this rattled my confidence a little bit because this happened to us not too long ago with Song Yudong Enrique Simone. That got postponed. And I came in, I was like, I'm even more heavy on Simone. And look what happened, right? So I'm like, well, wait a second. Now I got to really take a look at this because I believe I picked Dern and Kenny picked Hill.
Yes.
I'm still going with Dern, right? I do believe that over 5 rounds, she was going to get a takedown and find a submission. That's what I believe. I love what she says after the Yan Shannon fight. I love her mental. I love her going, when it goes to the ground, I got to finish. Angela Hill is a beast, one of my favorite fighters. She's awesome. She's funny on Twitter. She's beautiful. She's been around forever. She's an absolute killer. Last fight out, she landed 187 strikes, which is insane, right? I mean, she's nasty in the clinch, but I think over 5 rounds, you got to be perfect against Mackenzie Dern, who has great cardio and we all know can take it. Like, she can take a shot. She's tough. I like Dern by submission here. I know she's a dog as well, so give me another dog. Or excuse me, she's a favorite. Pardon me, but I like her by submission. Give me Mackenzie Dern.
Kenny, Angela Hill has gotten really good, right? I mean, I'm just like watching her live compared to a few years ago. Like, she has just gotten really, really good. The question is, will it be enough against Mackenzie Dern? Right. I know last week you liked Angie. Give us your thoughts on the main event.
Yeah, she could fight a great fight, and if she's off for like 10 seconds, Mackenzie Dern can go out there and submit her. That's how good Mackenzie is. She's just like one of those one-punch knockout artists. Her submissions are that good, and especially hearing what she said after that last fight where she knows she has to be more submission-oriented or sharper and cleaner with her attacks. I expect her to be at her absolute best here. Now, I feel like I should go to jiu-jitsu confession after this. Like, forgive me, Gracie, for I have sinned. Yeah. I am going against the jiu-jitsu brethren here. I'm going to stay with Angela Hill here unless I see something out of the ordinary on fight week. But I just think Angela's wrestling is going to be the key to victory here. She needs – is it almost that simple? Yeah, almost, right? I think she needs to stop those takedowns. If she keeps it on the feet, she wins this fight. And like Brian said, she is nasty in the clinch. Her knee-elbow combinations are fantastic. She has kind of this awkward rhythm that's hard to get a beat on. I think the first couple rounds will be telling. Once she gets in a rhythm, I think watch out. I think she tends to get stronger as the fight goes on. But I think those first 10 to 12 minutes, she has to be very careful with the submission whiz Mackenzie Dern. So fascinating to see how it all goes down.
I'm not going to give you guys a pick, but I would like to. Brian Petrie can be found on social media at Brian Petrie MMA. And you have next week off, but we may call on you because, fans just don't like going a week without hearing your voice.
Love it.
Your smiley
Johnny,
face.
I got to give my extra pick in there, for the extra fight. I didn't know we were going to do it at the end. Didn't know we were going to do it at the beginning. I have one.
Apologies.
I just wanted to get it in because I need the points, my brother. Gilbert Urbina, plus 110 over Ryan Kosey. I like that spot. I like the underdog spot for him. He's 6'3", 170. He's young. No, he doesn't have a ton of UFC experience coming off the Ultimate Fighter. Fighting family. I think he can get it done. Kosey gasses, fades, only 5'11". He's listed at 5'11". He's probably really 5'9". But Gilbert Urbina plus 110 is my extra pick there.
Gilbert Urbina plus 110. Ken Flo, no extra selection from you, I assume, because I gave you no notice, right? See, it's like, Ken Flo could be like, guys, right? Like, really? Gonna change the format right now?
He's such ahead of me, though.
But I didn't feel so convicted on one to say, let me go with this one. But yeah, I'll be using it though. I'll be using it.
There you go.
Hey, Bri, have a great day and a better evening. We'll talk to you in 2 weeks, if not sooner. Okay.
Absolutely. I'll see you, boys.
There he is, Brian Petrie, with us every week for the Main Event Challenge, and that is going to do it for another episode of the Anik Florian podcast. Thank you all for supporting the show wherever you ingest your podcast. We appreciate that. And Ken Flo, thanks for having me at your house to meet your family. I appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. We love to have you.
I mean, crazy that he would let Dominic Cruz in his house, but that was his decision, not mine. We are back with you next week. We will see how it all goes down with Mackenzie Dern and Angela Hill, and we have some other things planned as well. At least one UFC fighter will be on the program with us next Monday, May 22nd. Thanks to our executive producer, Cody Merrow. Happy 30th birthday, and to everybody on the DraftKings Network side as well. For Ken Flo, for Longo, for Petrie, I'm John Anderson. So long for now. We'll talk to you next week. Until then, go live.